Okay, guys, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Let me know. We were having some issues with the sound, so I went to solve it. Yes. Can you hear me now, guys? All right, perfect. All right, great. Well, let me go ahead and start again since there was some audio issues. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. Guys, it's the one and only. Yes, I'm here again. Back at it again. I want to first start by greeting the African Superstar family. I want to also give a special shout out to our members only who support this channel on a monthly basis. They are designated by the circle next to their name. They get exclusive behind the scenes content. So if you're interested in that, those are also longer vlogs for those of you guys that like those longer vlogs. You may be interested in my members only content, so make sure you subscribe for that if you're interested. Also, special shout outs to everybody doing business with the one and only African Superstar. We have a husband and wife team coming from Atlanta in just a few weeks to join me in Ghana for their own private bespoke tour. Shout outs for them. If you're interested in the same, make sure you get a hold of me at africansuperstar@gmail.com. We also have our collaborative tour, Mr. Taye, Uhuru, and I. That's October 19th through the 26th. So if you want like a group setting, you may want to book that. That information is available at www.taye.uhuru.com. I also offer mentorship as well as consultations for your questions regarding Ghana or migration at large. Okay, big shout out to the African Superstar family. Please get into the chat room. Please get into the chat room. Please get into the chat room today. What's up, Links 101? I see you there. All right. Thanks to the family. Yes, I wanted to bring this topic to the channel because often, I know it seems like I'm a little hard on members of the diaspora, especially those that come from America, and the reason is I just really want the best for us. I feel that we have historically been very victimized and the system is designed to prohibit our upward mobility, and I'm very passionate about that, and that's part of the reason I come on my channel, trying to open your eyes and perspectives and let you know of other opportunities, ideally on the continent that might be viable for you. But I gotta say that 2025 energy from the Black Americans is long time coming, long time overdue. I have been seeing on TikTok, I'd say for the better part of, at least 6 months or so, I'd say since the election, that various groups have been kind of reaching out to Black influencers and the Black community at large in America, kind of needing support for their grievances, support for their community. I did see several months ago, white women kind of trying to promote Black people to get involved in the protests and, things that were going on. And now recently, with everything happening in California with the ICE protests, the Latino community have been reaching out to various Black influencers in the Black community and making content kind of soliciting our support. And I'm so happy to see. Yes, I'm so happy to see that Black American response of no. Where were you for our causes? Hello. Where have you been? You guys just want to use us. You just want to harness our energy. You just want to harness our influence for your own cause, but we can't count on you at all when it comes down to us. The lesson of reciprocity is one that we are not brought up with. A lot of us are brought up in these very religious environments in which We are taught the golden rule, and that's the focus point. And if you're very religious, then your reward is in the afterlife, your reward is in heaven. God is the judge and going to oversee everything, and everything's going to work out. No, in reality, reciprocity is where it's at. And I'm so happy to see this energy coming out of the Black Americans, which is, this isn't our fight. This isn't our cause. Where were you when we needed you? And this is long overdue. The next step to it, which some of the Black American community struggles with, is collaboration and unity. That solidarity is the next part of this energy. You see, because when you start looking at the bigger picture, you realize that the smaller of a group you are, the easier a mark you are, the easier it is to eliminate you, or isolate you, or target you. You look at, for instance, President Traore, what he's doing in his movement on the continent. He's immediately seeking collaboration and unity with neighboring countries. They're banding together, creating their own passport and doing trade and partnering and having, forming an alliance. That's the next part. But the first part is, wait a minute. Evaluation. What am I getting out of this? Is this a reciprocal thing? And this concept, this is not just, this should be how it is in life in general. In my opinion, I think you really simplify your life when you start looking at it like this. Because quite frankly, a lot of the people that we ride for, just in general, okay, relationships, friendships, business, other ethnicities, all this kind of stuff, a lot of those relationships are very one-sided. Both parties are not mutually benefiting from those situations. And when you put on the glasses, hello, no pun intended, but when you put on your glasses and you start evaluating it and you're like, damn, what am I actually getting out of this deal? This is an unequal, situation, or worst case scenario, it's just totally one-sided altogether, where, this other party is benefiting constantly and you're not benefiting at all. And when we look at our relationship, quite frankly, with many situations, many different entities, definitely our relationship with the West, modern and historically, we do not benefit from a lot of the things that we have been including ourselves in, and people harness our energy and passion for their cause. And I'm very happy that Black Americans are like, no, you're not using us for this. How do we benefit? Like I said, the next stage of the game is the collaboration piece. That's one beautiful thing about homogeneous societies. You see it in the Latino community, you see it in the Asian community, you see it in the Jewish community. These people, despite their geographical location, they operate in solidarity. That's the next part that we need to get. And realizing that the enemies that confront us are not always a part of our community. We rather turn on each other a lot of times and highlight the differences, in regards to the diaspora. We might, we focus on this, we focus on that. And the best way is to look at the common ground. If you know anything about negotiating, if you know anything about problem solving, that typically is the way forward. Not focusing on all the differences, because the differences are to be expected, especially in the diaspora. People are culturally different, growing up in different environments, learning different languages, and all of that. So we know that among the diaspora, there's going to be diversity. Hello, it goes without saying. But in those situations, it's better to assess it and say, you know what? Yeah, we have all these differences, but these points are points that we all can relate. And I think that's very powerful. So I got to give it up. Hello, 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 hello to the Black American communities that are, withdrawing their support and their attention to things that don't really pertain to us. Like I said, this is a long time overdue. Okay. We have a limited amount of lifetime, a limited amount of energy. I often give this example here on the channel, which is if you have a glass, okay? I actually have a glass today. Hello. If you have a glass, okay, my glass has a little bit of water in it left. Okay, let's say my water is like what? 20% of the glass and 80% has been consumed. Okay, if you're starting with this in the morning, okay, you fill it all the way up and you have 100% of energy. Okay, everything that you are engaging in, you are exerting energy onto that, right? And what typically happens with us in our community is we're using, 95% of energy on things that do not serve or pertain to us. Because that is how we're groomed to be. We're groomed to care about other people's problems. It's remarkable that we see, I remember with this Ukraine or Russia thing, how many Black influencers were out there trying to pick sides. I'm like, first of all, have you been? Do you know anybody there? Like, I can understand if maybe you might be active military and you would care about some of these international conflicts because you might have to be shipped out. Then you have a lot of Black people that are totally passionate about this Israel-Gaza thing. And I'm thinking like, I saw on TikTok, there was someone saying, all this stuff that happens to our people, in various situations, we can't reach out for support from any of these neighboring communities, but we often champion their causes. And that is a weakness. We are pouring out our energy. Damn, I really poured it. We're pouring our energy out and not getting anything in return. And it's really, really, it doesn't make sense. And that's why the way that we're heading, the path that we're on is the way forward, because that energy that you're using on other parties, okay, it's not being replenished by the circle of life. And then it's just wasted. That means in the morning, the Latino community, they start with their own cup of 100% energy. Then you start pouring yours in there. They're getting more and more energy. Now you're depleted. Hello? Now you're depleted. And we've got to start learning how to pour our energy and attention internally. Okay? Champion our own causes. Champion our own businesses. Hello? Focus on our own homeland or whatever. And not expending it on anyone else. There was this, what's up, Chayo? I see you there. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Yes. What's up, family? Sir Patrick, Links 101, Sapphire. I see you guys. African Wahala. Yes, guys, I'm in the building. African Superstar, one and only. Yes, I came to applaud and commend, fellow Black Americans on this reciprocal action, because it's the way forward. Big shout outs to you. Okay. I hope you like it. Shout outs to African Superstar music lovers. If you guys are in the building, actually, what a great time. I'm going to go ahead and do a commercial break for you guys For any of you that are not familiar, yes, I'm an award-winning musician in Ghana. I'm currently in the UK because I have a show. Yes, 27th of June, I will be in London at the Camden Club. So any of my UK viewers, you guys do a fantastic job of showing up for me. I last performed here in London in November, and we had a lovely show, and some of you guys came out. So yes, if you're not familiar with my music, please take a moment. One and only, I'm back again. African Superstar on the track. It's the weekend, and ain't no place I'd rather be than here with you, and you here with me. Yeah. Got the sauce, boy. It's a beach chill. You ain't gotta lie, come close and keep it real. Swear to God, already know how you feel. It's a beach chill. It's a beach chill. You ain't gotta lie, come close and keep it real. Swear to God, already know how you feel. It's a beach chill. Yes, that is a snippet from my last official music video, Beach Chill. It's here on YouTube and also streaming. So please acclimate yourself with an award-winning musician. Yes, yes, yes. Big shout out to Child for bringing that up. Child says, Black Americans are getting it together and trying to link up with our fellow Blacks around the world. This is going to be the move. You know, now I know there is a contrast of, you know, Black Americans, the foundational Black Americans, the ADOS people that, you know, they just want to kind of stake their claim in America and do their thing. But for the, you know, the progressive members of the Black American diaspora, this is it. You know, again, we have a model. We have several models from the past that let us know the path that's most probable for success. The model that's most probable for success is unity. You know, there has to be some cohesion. There has to be some like-mindedness. There has to be some, you know, corralling of the resources, some meeting of the minds to get anywhere. You know, because if you're having 50 different people with 50 different ideas, and, you know, the reality is you can't get very far on your own, period. I don't care what you're doing. I mean, you can't get anywhere on your own. You know, there's a limit to what you're going to achieve in life in general on your own. So if we really want change, if we really want to see that penetrate our community, then we, you know, and what better way to team up with others that are going the direction that you're going. So big shout out to the African Superstar family. Yes, 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 I do agree. Child says we need to be together as Black people. 100%. So, you know, I came again this evening just to give my flowers. You know, I know that I come down hard on the diaspora. I just want us to perform. And I don't think that we can perform well if we're just delusional about the way that we're currently operating. So my focus is always to, you know, kind of challenge you to take assessment and change and go the right direction. I gotta give big up to you guys. Those of you guys that are in the US, it's like, yo, we gotta change. Like, something's gotta change from the way that we've currently been doing. And our relationship with most entities is one-sided. You know, currently the only place welcoming the diaspora, the only place accommodating the diaspora with citizenship and other opportunities, the only place that's embracing us is the continent. And so the way forward, that's the way you should be looking, in my opinion, because you swim with water. You know, you don't go against the current. If you know anything about swimming, if you ever get stranded in the ocean or whatnot, you know, the more you struggle and you try to go against the current, you're trying to go against the waves and swim and all that, you're going to tire yourself out, maybe ultimately drown or whatever. You know, you coast, you go with the flow. You know, you go in a direction where there's support, where there's promise, you know, not when, you know, the fight is draining. And we can see from so many of our people in the Western world how it's beginning to manifest into their lives. You know, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of mental illness, a lot of depression, a lot of violence, a lot of lack of confidence. You know, all this stuff is coming from fighting incessantly and perpetually and getting nowhere. You know, taking 2 steps ahead and getting knocked back 10. You know, the struggle, the hustle is not supposed to be perpetual. For some of you that may not know, you know, you're not supposed to struggle from day one you are born until the end of the day, especially if you're investing and working hard into your life. There should come a point where you begin to reap a bit of the benefits of everything that you're pouring in. One of the reasons that we struggle so much in the Western world, again, you know, is because the efforts that we're making, you know, we are misallocating that effort. Okay, we're pouring it into places that's not going to replenish us. You know, we're caring about causes that don't GAF about us, huh? We're investing and our investments are not maturing. You know, when a foundation is crooked, okay, when a foundation is dysfunctional, okay, I don't care how much concrete you try to put on top of an unsound foundation, you know what it means. You cannot eliminate an unsound foundation by, you know, compiling more and more stuff. No, the way to fix it would be to actually go back and repair the foundation from the get-go, you know, and we're no closer to doing that in the Western world than we ever have been. We need to broaden our horizons and look for other opportunities, but understanding reciprocation is the first thing. I'm telling you, even if you just implement this in your personal lives, it will be a game changer. When you start analyzing the people around you, the relationships you're in, maybe even your profession, and you start saying, okay, what am I getting out of this? You know, these people are getting 80-95% of my energy every day, and I'm not getting anything out of this, you know, because obviously suffering, sometimes sacrifice is needed. Okay. That's the reality to get ahead. But evaluating whether or not that sacrifice is worth it, is it going to yield you something at the end of the day? You know, will it be like a long run benefit? Perhaps. But if what you're putting in is greater than any benefit that you could potentially get out, it just really doesn't make any sense. So yes, I had to come and talk about this. Let me go through these comments. Child says there has to be an understanding and common ground with Black people because teamwork makes the dream work and we are God's children. Absolutely. I agree with that. There has to be some solidarity. Child said he had fun in Japan. Like Bruce said, be like water. Water is forever. Wow, that's a really great comment or a parable. Very excellent. Yes. Yes, guys. So that is what I came to talk about. I just want to see this energy continue. And again, the next stages are collaboration, unity, and then pouring that energy and resources internally. That's the next thing. Okay, that's how you actually enrich your situation. And again, these are just general life principles that's going to make your life great. Trust me. You know, when you're worried about external stuff, you're worried about the wrong things. Okay, can you impact global warming? You know, you can probably do a little bit here and there, but in reality, can you impact it? Do you control the U.S. government? I mean, hell, your vote may not have even counted. I mean, the most that you can do most times in regards to the government is vote, right? Okay, Donald Trump don't know you, you know. Macron in France, he doesn't know you. Even Traore don't know you. You know what I mean? Some of the things that we are expending so much concern in is really irrelevant. Meanwhile, we have pressing issues in our house, in our finances, in our family, with our kids, with our spouse. You know, things that we can immediately impact, we neglect to invest energy in causes that we really may not have a profound impact to. You see, and again, this is a form of energy harvesting. You know, let me siphon energy from other people and other sources. It actually makes me powerful. It actually increases my ability and my influence and my range. These people are giving me all their energy to utilize. I don't ever have to repay it. You know, so this is a great first step, you know, for the diaspora. I hope that it continues. I hope that we start focusing on issues that pertain to our people, and focusing on solving that and championing our own causes, you know, because again, we know that we don't have any friends, any allies out here. Not one of these. The Asian community ain't backing us up. The Jewish community ain't backing us up. Although the Jewish community capitalizes the most off of black people. Hello, they own a lot of the sports teams. They own the entertainment industry, the music industry, the movie industry. They are benefiting so much from a lot of our talent and our athleticism and our music. And again, none of these people come to the rescue. None of them come to the rescue when it's our situations that need dealt with. And so that's tonight's message. Big shout out to you guys. Anybody else have anything in the chat for the one and only superstar? Make sure, guys, it says we have 20 of you. Make sure you like the stream. You can also show your support. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do. Be like Taye and be checking out the African Superstar music. Yes. Taye, I gotta ask because I'm curious. Which song do you like? Which song have you been on? I gotta know. Taye, let me know which song is your favorite from what you've heard, or which song do you like? Just let me hear. Just it's for the ego. Pour a little energy into your superstar. Hello. Go ahead, because I pour a whole lot. I pour a whole lot of energy into y'all. Are you gonna pour back? That's the question. Hello. So let me know, because you know I be working hard on my music. I'm not gonna lie, and it's definitely an investment for me. You know what I'm saying? Studio time, beats, music videos, photo shoots, all of that. As an independent artist, I facilitate it. I'm out here pushing my music and my brand. So I love to hear a little bit of feedback from you guys. Yes, so let me know. Big shout outs to the family. Child says, I implement in my personal life and do what I have to do locally and on a bigger scale when it comes to Black people in New York, where I'm from. I work with the children and it replenishes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. You know, this is a great example of what we need to be doing. You know, a great example. What's up, Michael? I see you in the building. Thank you for being in the chat. Thanks for being on code. Yes, guys, we had a lot of people in the chat room. Yes, yes, yes. That's a good one. Michael says, why do Africans talk about the Jewish community as if they are a separate race of people instead of the Europeans they are? Europeans pretending to be of the fake biblical nonsense. Great, great. Yeah, well, I mean, I think probably the distinguishing really came maybe around the Holocaust time, because they were the specific target of the Germans. And so I think that kind of maybe established them separate from other European nations, because none of them had that kind of targeted genocide on those people. And then since then, you know, that's when they really distinguished themselves. You know, following that, their population was significantly affected by the Holocaust. So following that, you know, they regrouped and became a powerhouse. you know, and even though they are a minority group, they're running. They are running stuff. They are running stuff. High powered lawyers, high powered doctors, owners, you know what I'm saying? Financial leaders. You will see these Jewish folks everywhere. Big shout out Child Likes Beach Show. All right, all right. I do like Beach Show. I'm actually going to perform Beach Show here in London. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Michael says a European is a European is a European. I feel you, brother. To me, you know, they're white folks. I kind of put them in the category with the white folks, but I realized that you know, living in Europe, they actually distinguish themselves, and they also profile each other, and they have their internal racism. You know, certain parts, you know, certain European countries feel like they're better than others. They have connotations of, you know, for instance, here in the UK, Eastern European people are frowned upon. So you got the Hungarians, you got the Polish, you know, there's a lot of them here. Um, it's interesting that white on white, you know what I'm saying? I got to learn a little bit of that. But I mean, I think Americans see that as well, because you have like the Democrats versus the Republicans, and then you have, you know, the city people versus like the um, country hillbilly types, and you know, you can see some of that static. But the unique thing about them is when it all comes down, they're gonna unite up. When it comes against them and us, they're gonna unite. Huh? They're gonna unite and be standing up against us. So that's the thing about them. And I think, I mean, obviously it could be compared to the African diaspora. You know, we have Black people globally, worldwide. You know what I'm saying? And we need to learn that mechanism of the when it's us against them, we all unite. I mean, really, you know, the static between us is so frustrating. And I mean, I get it. I get it. I think a lot of it is sourced obviously by our enemies, because our enemies are creating a lot of the misinformation that sources a lot of these things. Like, for instance, when it comes against the Black American diaspora versus like continental Africans, you know, continental Africans in some ways have been poisoned against Black Americans because of what? The media, you know, this connotation that they're criminals or bad people, whatever. And then you have on the opposite side of the ocean, you know, this responsibility for the slave trade, which we know was totally facilitated by the Europeans, you know. So trying to hold continental Africans responsible for something that we know was manned and controlled by these same folks that have, you know, that have been doing everything is crazy. But again, that's that divide and conquer, because they obviously know the power of that diaspora working in unison from coast to coast. And there has been a deliberate and obvious and blatant concerted effort to prevent that from happening. Child shout outs with Child Likes also come chill me. Man, you too bad you ain't here for the show in London, because I that's on my set list. Hello. Be chill. Come chill with me. Obviously, we're gonna do Ghana is Good for Me. And one of my newer tracks, Sunday Born. Yeah, shout outs to all the Sunday Borns. Yes, I'm gonna do Sunday Born. It's a crowd, you know, it's a crowd starter. People really like Sunday Born. The kids love Sunday Born. I think that's one of my more popular tracks on TikTok. A lot of the kids have used the audio and made their little video, so it's really cute. And that was the idea. I try to make music that is family friendly so everybody can enjoy it. You know, like some of my most favorite artists, you know, I can listen to it with my parents, my grandparents. If I had kids, I could you know, the music is multi-generational, and that's the kind of music I want to make. I don't want to make music that they're like, oh my God, get out the room, African Superstars on the radio. You know what I mean? That's kind of crazy. Yes. Big shout outs to you guys. Thank you, Chayo. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Yes. Child says Europe is not as connected as we think. Notice how they don't really talk about each other. Eurasia is not as united as we're made to believe, like Africa and North America. That's what I'm saying. I mean, obviously, for people that have never lived in Europe or never traveled to Europe, in their mind, they kind of group it. A lot of times, Westerners don't really realize, I'd say, the diversity in Europe because um, although it's a small limited space, you have a variety of different languages, a variety of historical things and all that stuff that goes into Europe. And like I said, they be discriminating. They be discriminating on each other. And to us, the naked eye, we're like, all you guys are all whites. But then they kind of lean into their ethnicity or their heritage or whatever. I don't really care, but because again, it's not my problem. I'm just trying to be focused on what I'm trying to be focused on. And I mean, I know some people just think it's so callous when I be like, I just really don't care about a lot of these other things. I just really don't care. I really don't. I'm just trying to focus on, first and foremost, what Gina needs to do. Okay. Gina needs to, I put a lot of energy. Like I'd say, out of this 100%, every day I try to spend at least maybe 60, 75% on Gina's problems, Gina's life, Gina's future. I mentioned on my last video that just last week I made a daily checklist of stuff I have to do. I just have to do it. One of those things is 5,000 steps every day. I give myself the option to either, walk or run outside. I have a workout tape that I do, obviously, because I'm not in Ghana. When I'm in Ghana, I go to the gym like 4 to 5 times out of the week. But I'm like, no, because, I really, really want to reduce some weight. I've now been on TV, and the camera really does add extra weight. Hello. And I'm like, yeah, so I just need to really get it together if I'm going to be out there in the public eye in terms of, just getting my health and fitness and my stamina. You're out there performing, you need to be in shape, you need to be at your optimal form. And so that's one thing. Talking to my mom, reaching out to my mom every single day. It's necessary. You know what I mean? I do 20 squats every day. Hello. Because I want to make sure I can bend down, get up. I realized last summer, after spending so much time in the car, I was having like some back pains. And then when I tried to tie my shoe, I was struggling a little bit. I'm like, yo. So as we age, you kind of need to adapt and things like that. But I'm using the majority of my energy from day to day on Gina's endeavors. Then obviously I have energy I expend, friends, family, my social media. I need to take time and do a little bit of music, be it either listening to new beats, rehearsing, whatever. Just I need to take time and address my endeavors. Okay. And then I have probably the least amount for external stuff. What I'm saying? External stuff, I just really don't care. But I think that is why I'm a productive person, because when people around me are using, 60, 75% of their energy on erroneous things, they're not going to get anywhere. If that 50% you should be spending on your fitness every day, you're spending it on, reality TV, or you're obsessed with your sister's problems, your brother's problems, you're letting your baby daddy rope you into arguments, and your job is stressing you. Okay, all that time you're spending is not getting used in a productive way. Okay, so when a month or two goes by, you're not going to have results, you see. But let's say you were actually using that on yourself. Month or two goes by, you're going to see results. Let me tell you, if you go from no activity, let's say if we're talking about fitness, okay, if you go from no activity to moderate or high activity, let's just say 3 times a week, okay, within 2 months, You are going to see change in that area. I can guarantee, I can bet money that you will. If you go from zero to moderate or high energy, okay, 2 months, you will see some changes. You know, if you go from zero savings to moderate or high savings, within 6 months, you're gonna have savings. Okay, but again, if the way you're allocating those resources, you know, some of you guys are giving your money away to people that constantly squander their own money, huh? You are the bank for other people. They call you, oh yeah, I need help. I'm about to get evicted. Can I just borrow $50? Huh? Those people, you can't even call them for anything at all. What's up, Cynthia? I see there, sweetie. Big shout out to you. Thanks to the African Superstar family that took a little time to come and see me today, guys. Make sure you hit the likes. Yes, I'm giving my flowers to the Black American community on not getting engaged in erroneous stuff. You know, keep that same energy, okay? These Latinos, they don't care about you. Hello. These white people, they don't care about you. The Asians, the Jewish, or Europeans, or whatever. Nobody cares. Okay, when we're having a problem, do they step up and represent? And some of you guys are like, yeah, you know, I have, okay, yeah, I know there's the sprinkling, okay, and they do very topic type of initiatives, okay, not systematic, not political, not legal, not anything that's going to actually do anything practical for us. Okay, it's all basically smoke and mirrors. Let's show a little, you know, let me make a little TikTok, huh? You know, the white ladies that like black, they come out there because they want it, you know, they need their black men for their fix, huh? But do they really want systematic change for us? Do they really want, because I mean, let's be real, guys. It's been hundreds of years. It's been hundreds of years. If, you know, they wanted to equal the playing field, if they wanted to amend, you know, atone for the past, if they wanted to like make things better, it don't take hundreds of years. It does not take hundreds of years to do that. And all that communicates is, yeah, we don't want to do it. Matter of fact, you guys are so busy, typically, historically, forgiving people that have never asked for forgiveness. If you actually talk to them, they feign any responsibility at all. Well, why should I have to apologize for what my grandfather did? You know, I wasn't, you know, I didn't. Are they apologetic? Are they remorseful? No, they're actually arrogant. They actually enjoy, you know, the foolishness that our people suffer with them. They actually negate our experiences altogether. Oh, you guys are always playing the race card. That has nothing to do with that. Huh? That's their attitude. You know? So keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. Government's magnitude says white people care, but Mexicans are racist and evil. I put them all in the non-black category. Sorry. Because few white people care. Few. I'm talking about like that. Okay. And, you know, basically, I feel like for a lot of the Latino community, they also suffer from proximity. You guys know I have a series here on YouTube discussing various elements of proximity. And what that is, you know, as people perceive themselves closer to white, that's how they negotiate, you know, and definitely many, the majority of them, I'd say, identify like that. And so, yeah, they are, they are anti-black, but I mean, it's not exclusive to the Mexican community. It's not, because the Asians do the same thing. The Europeans do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They all, everybody anti-black, huh? So we should just be keeping that energy. You feel me? Yes. All right, big shout out to the African Superstar family, guys. We had a lot of you come today. I'm grateful for your time and your energy. Yes. Again, I just want to remind you guys of what I have going on. I have a show here in London, the 27th of June at the Camden Club. It's going down 100%. The poster is on all my social media as well as the community tab. So for my UK viewers and music lovers, please don't miss, the African Superstar here live in London. I also will be participating in a virtual concert on the 29th. That's on TikTok. So for those of you guys that are not in the UK, you can also see me perform on TikTok. I also offer mentorship, consultations, and bespoke tours. Yes, I will be welcoming a husband and wife from Atlanta in about 3 weeks in Ghana. So I'm very excited. It will be their first trip, and I'm going to be with them for 10 days. Okay, their own custom tour. Yes, shout outs to anybody doing business with the one and only African Superstar. We also have a group tour coming up October 19th through the 26th, Mr. Taye, Uhuru, and I. So if you guys are looking to come to Ghana, and I would say, with everything going on, guys, I tell you continually the importance of, looking into your options, okay? With everything that's going on in the Western world, I mean, it's very unwise to ignore it and not strategize your plan B, and it's so nice to have options. It's so nice to have an understanding and a command of the world around you, the world beyond your immediate environment. And as far as I go, I may not be available to do tours much longer because, again, I'm pursuing my acting. And that would require me to be, I have to be going to set and all that stuff. So I may not have the time going forward to be available for tours. So let me say, take advantage of the availability now if that's something you're interested in. Okay. For private tours, you can get a hold of me at afrikansuperstar@gmail.com. For the group tour, the booking and itinerary is available on Mr. Taye Uhuru's website. So that's www.tayeUhuru.com. In other business, you can see more of my private life on members only. So you can subscribe and you get longer vlogs and more behind the scenes. Yes. So that's available on the join button on the membership tab as well. Yes, family. And last but not least, the African Superstar music is available streaming everywhere. I have music videos here on the channel. I have about 7 of them. I have music videos for Come Chill With Me, Beach Chill, Ghana Is Good For Me, Ghana Roll Call, One and Only Freestyle. Let's see what else. Liar 2022, one of my favorite videos. So yes, guys. So anyway, that is going to conclude today's live stream. Thank you again for being here. Send you off with my latest track, Yes.
My new song, Boom Boom, is a crazy banger. Oh my God. I hope you have that.
One and only
the African Superstar.
African Superstar on the track.
You gotta wanna play it on repeat. Just listen.
International award winning. Yes.
Trust me. When it comes to lyrics,
in the
we don't
midnight
play.
hour, when I get next to you, butterflies in my tummy, and my heart goes boom, boom. In the midnight hour, when I get next to you, feels so exciting, and my heart goes boom, boom. There's nobody like you, you're my one and only. Since the day that we met, I remember, you've been driving me crazy. I love your brown eyes,
it's my right. You will go down on your knees, say a little prayer for me.
Shout outs to Mr. Kojo Ahenaba. That is who I featured on that song. He is an amazing voice. The audio for that track, Boom Boom, is also here on the channel. And that is my most recent track. I released it in February. Yes, I do have new music, but we're just trying to, you know, I have so much music unrecorded to bring out. But yeah, anyway, stay tuned for that. The African Superstar music catalog is available exclusively at bandcamp.com. I have 3 EPs out. Boom Boom is a part of the latest one called Iconic, which I released last year in June. Okay, so until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.